What happens when a clown passes gas?
Ooh, I don't know.
It smells funny.
Okay, that was a good
one. Your turn.
Okay. What do cannabis and LSU have in common?
Oh, wow. What?
They both get smoked in bowls. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide, roll. I love that one.
And I am from Louisiana, so that one cost me a little of street cred at home.
Yeah, I'm sure it did.
But I've been here for 22 years, so Roll Tide.
Roll Tide, roll. I love it. I'm going to write that down and use that one. That was a really good joke.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we have another podcast going, and this time we have a new friend here. Somebody that I just recently met, but it's something to be said when you meet people under fire.
Yeah, amen.
You kind of get close to
them foxhole buddies, man.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so Jennifer Isbell Boozer is the owner of CannaBama in Mobile. She has a book, she has a radio show, and just to be really honest, you have a heart. Like, this ain't just money for you. This is, and I've chatted with a few people, and you know, they only wanted to bash. They didn't want to do certain things, and you know, I just felt like you were just the cream of the crop to be here in this moment at this time, right?
It's scary, yeah. Thank you.
So, you know, tell us about you. Tell us your story.
Well, I am from Louisiana. I was actually born in Colorado, which I only lived there till I was 9 months old, and my parents moved back to Louisiana. My daddy was in the Army.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think that's a really neat little bit of foreshadowing.
Yeah.
I have no memory of it.
Yeah.
So I grew up in Louisiana, and I grew up singing in church.
Yeah.
With my mama, my grandparents, my aunts and uncles. Yeah, it's a very musical family.
I sing in the choir.
I loved it. Yes. I was a vocal music major in college. Wow. Yes. So being on stage and in front of people has always been pretty comfortable for me.
Yeah.
So I'm really grateful for that experience, because now I'm on a different type of stage.
Yeah.
One I never intended to be on either.
Right.
So I guess that crash course in being sort of in the public eye now, it's daunting. But that experience as a small child, getting up and singing in church at 5 years old,
mm-hmm.
you know, that was scary too.
Yeah.
But you know, I have figured out that
build a shell, you build
a tolerance.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yes, a certain amount of discomfort. Like I've been doing my radio show for 6 years, and I still get nervous every week.
Me too.
And I think once I don't get nervous, it's time to pack it in.
I don't get unnervous until I'm in it.
Right. Yeah.
But leading up, I'm like.
Yeah. And then by the end, it's like adrenaline. And
afterwards, I'm a nervous wreck.
Yeah.
I'm
buzz.
Everything?
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes. And when things go wrong, it's hard. But yeah, I grew up in Louisiana. I moved here as an adult. And my children, my son was almost 3 when we moved here. But that was a year after my second son passed away. So I was a young mom, and I had a traumatic birth that ended very badly. And I ended up taking my 5-day-old son off of life support while I held my guts in. And for about a decade, this was back in 2003, before the opioid crisis.
Okay.
I was one of the OGs on that.
Okay.
But you know, back then I didn't know you could be a drug addict with something from a pharmacy that your doctor gave you.
Right.
And so, but for me, after my physical recovery, it was the emotional roller coaster of being a grieving mother and still having to be mother to a 2-year-old and wife and figure out how to breathe. And the pain pills numbed all that and allowed me to function like a normal person, but not actually be a normal person.
Right.
And that was a 10-year rabbit hole. And I was a stay-at-home mom for 17 years. And, you know, I had a daughter after my son passed away, and she is almost a senior in high school now. But we moved to Alabama because we just really, we couldn't stay in Louisiana. It was just too dark. There was a legal battle, and it was not pretty. And so we came down to Mobile, and I absolutely love Mobile. I love Alabama. I love Birmingham. I was up here for a while, off and on, trying to get a store open in the middle of COVID, which was a futile effort.
Yeah.
But I got to live up here part-time for several months, and I got to love Birmingham as well. And Montgomery, even though I don't like Union Street. But I love the state of Alabama and the people of Alabama. They're very much like my family in Louisiana. And so I've always felt at home here. And so I went from being a stay-at-home mom, who was, I think I was 3 years clean, and still had chronic pain, migraines, terrible PMS, plantar fasciitis, arthritis, just misery, insomnia for 14 years. I didn't sleep through the night for 14 years after my son died. And someone I trust very much suggested I try CBD. And in one serving, it changed my whole life.
Wow.
I slept through the night, the first night, which I had no expectation of. I was taking it for joint pain. And I woke up.
Pain.
Yeah, I know. Yes, there's so many great puns.
Yeah.
But I woke up in the morning in the same place I was the night before.
Oh, that's a hard sleep.
For the first time, like in my bed, in my pajamas, under the covers, where I went at like 10 o'clock the night before. And I can remember kind of coming around when you're waking up and you're like, you can hear birds, but you're like, you know, what is happening? I remember thinking, am I dead? Because it had been so long.
Yeah.
And you know, when you don't get sleep, man, you go crazy quick.
Yeah.
And it affects everything. And so that was the beginning. I mean, it changed so many things that I just thought was my lot in life, honestly, at 39. And so I started to tell my mother, who was a 30-year kindergarten teacher, you know, the DARE program and all that stuff. I started to try to explain to her how amazing it was, and I couldn't, in a way that satisfied her fear that it's the weed. I'm going to be in a ditch with a needle in my... Yes, all that. And Ronnie Reagan would have been proud. And so, or Nancy Reagan. Yes. But yeah, so I had to start learning how to explain it to her. And when I started researching and learning, I fell in love. And I spent 10, 12 hours a day reading everything I could get my hands on, watching videos, getting people to talk to me, you know, and yes, I'm in Alabama. No, it's not a joke, you know, but I quickly learned that the only way to really get through to people was to help them understand what we were even talking about.
That's right.
And one of the things I've learned in the last 7, 8 years is that sometimes the hardest people to teach are people who have used cannabis or been around it and all that for all their lives.
Yeah.
They don't think that because they smoke it or they use it, they don't think they have anything to learn. And there's so much. I'm still learning. My life revolves around teaching this plant, and I am still clueless sometimes.
Yeah.
It's a mountain of information. And so, you know, I figured out how to convince my mom it was okay. And then a lady with diabetes, and then a lady with, you know, and it just started growing. And God gave me the name CannaBama one day while I was reading my Bible on my patio. And I had been praying for months because I was still 3 years clean, newly trying to live a different, totally different life, learn how to live again and be human.
Yeah.
And I wanted to be of service, and I got half a music education degree from the 90s. It's not worth the paper it would have been written on, you know?
Yeah.
And so, and I hadn't had a job since 2001.
Yeah.
I was 22, you know, minimum wage was still $4.25 an hour
Yeah.
in the 1900s,
Yeah.
you know? And so, but I knew that people needed to understand, and I was compelled. I couldn't stop talking about it. It had done so much for me in so many avenues and areas of my life that I knew somebody that had each one of those issues. Maybe they didn't have all of them, but they had this insomnia issue, and they had the plantar fasciitis, and they had the terrible PMS, all of those things. And I couldn't stop thinking of people and meeting people I could help. But who was I? A stay-at-home mom, you know? So I had to really know my stuff. And so, but yeah, God gave me the name CannaBama and put a vision on me that I haven't even begun to really see come to fruition, just scratching the surface.
But you did.
And it's big, yeah. Well, no, part of it, the beginning of it, yes, has come to fruition. Yeah. But the long game vision is vast. And right now in my position in life, I can't even imagine how I'll accomplish it. But I know I will. And I put a fire in my belly that I had never experienced. And I just I'm driven. I'm driven because I know that there are so many people in this world that are this close to a breakthrough they don't believe is even possible because of what we're so conditioned to believe, that conventional medicine is all there is and nothing else could compare. And then once you've exhausted that, just got to live with it. And, you know, we don't want to do that. So I started CannaBama, and I started that by teaching my first class. And I taught, what is CBD? And 15 people showed up. I didn't even have anything to sell yet. When they came back, they knew what they needed, why, and how to use it. And it just was a perpetual nuclear explosion because no one was doing it. And I just happened to have the ability to retain information and regurgitate it well. I'm terrible at a lot of things, but teaching this plant has been basically my life's work, my calling. This is my kingdom work. And so I opened the store, and it went great. I started in the corner of a hair salon in Satsuma, Alabama, a block from the police station in the summer of 18, and with $5,000. and you know, I've been in business for over 7 years now. And a local radio station heard about my classes, and they wanted to put me on the radio. So we have a 1 hour slot on live FM radio, talk radio. I said, well, okay, let's do it. You know, I've never done that before, but I can learn. And Sweet Home CannaBama was born out of that. And it is that I know of, it is the only FM radio talk show about cannabis in the country.
All right, skirt, time out.
Mm-hmm.
Shout it out. How can people find it? So you thought we gonna shout it out at least 3 times. So
Sweet Home CannaBama. We're on Facebook, Instagram, X, YouTube, and TikTok, and we're live on the radio on FM Talk 106.5 out of Mobile, Alabama, every Monday night. 106.5, yes. Monday night. And if you don't live in the area, you can also stream it on fmtalk1065.com. Live at 7 o'clock. We're live, so if things go wrong or I forget what I'm saying, it's honest. Okay. It's honest.
Well, keep going.
Yeah. So we started having a 420 festival where people could come and advocate and commiserate and consume safely, legally in the middle of downtown Mobile. We just had our 4th one last month, and it was incredible. We actually partnered with Shake the Field. And we registered people to vote. We offered them information on how to get their records expunged. It was a really good event. And so what I'm trying to always do is to combat the stigma. You know, that reefer madness is still really strong almost 90 years later. And it's evolved, you know, it became the war on drugs, and it became the DARE program, and then all this, you know, and there's just different iterations of reefer madness. So we want to teach people what it is, what it does, how it works, how to use it, what it isn't, and how to consume responsibly, how to know how you're getting ripped off or not, how to know if the product is quality or not, how to know how to ask for a COA so you can check it. And if you don't know, I give out my personal phone number with every business card, and they know they can send me a photo of the back of a label, and I'll tell them, yes, this is a good product. No, it's not, you know. And so I've hopefully built a reputation where people know my heart is in this, like you said, that this isn't just a job. When I first started, I was married, hadn't worked in almost 20 years, and I didn't need the paycheck. I'm divorced now, so I do need the paycheck. But that wasn't my motive when I got started. And there was no trend to jump on because no one had done it. And so I came into it because I could not keep it to myself. I couldn't live with myself if I were to gatekeep this. I mean, to me, it's like preaching the gospel. I know something that you don't know, or maybe you think you know, but I'm going to really teach you what the truth is here, and it's going to change your life. And that's what it's like for me. It's truly something that I know has changed so many people's lives. I see miracles happen. You know, people coming in with Parkinson's, shaking uncontrollably, and a half hour later, still as a stone with a little bag in their hand, and they never once got high. That's what we do. And that's what I think the misconception is about why HB 445 was passed. And I'm here to clear that up.
In your book?
Yes, I am an author in volume 2 and 3 of the series Courage in Cannabis by Dr. Bridget Williams. There's people that are way cooler than me, way smarter than me, and way more accomplished in cannabis than me, but I got the privilege to write my own chapter, and it's called The Fight of My Life. And you can find the Courage in Cannabis books on Amazon, and Planet 13 sells them. I'm sure there are other, CannaBama sells them. And I'm sure there are lots of places around, but Amazon.com is a good place to pick those up. You will hear stories from advocates, doctors, nurses, veterans, parents, people like me, you know, from all walks of life and all manner of involvement with cannabis and hemp industry. So that's Courage in Cannabis. Yeah.
Now, HB, what's the number?
445.
445.
Yes.
First of all, I like your story.
Thank you.
I love your story.
Thank you.
And I want people to know who's about to talk to them, right?
Yeah.
And HB 445 is what brought us together. And I'll tell you, just quite honestly, as an Alabamian, as a resident of Birmingham, you know, I'm sorry, I'm just really not caught up in the access thing. I want you to talk about it,
of course,
you know, but that's not my thing. My thing is the money, right? My thing is we are trying to find ways to pay for things, from streets to schools to healthcare, and we are eliminating what I know to be the biggest influx of cash in the state of Alabama since, I don't know how to fill in that blank, right? So from a business standpoint, we keep shooting ourselves in the foot. All right, I got that out. So
I agree. No, I agree because you know, that revenue came out of the sky.
Right. So, but I want you to back up. Start with the bill and let's talk about it.
Yes. Okay. So HB 445 is a regulatory bill, and let me just say at the beginning of this session, SB 132 was dropped as a complete and total ban on psychoactive cannabinoids. That means THC products. And we all were like, holy crap, what's happening? And I sort of had anticipated that something was going to come because we were seeing it in other states. And so I actually had been working with some people in Missouri that were preparing legislation there. so that we could get it Alabamaized.
The Alabamification.
Yes, the Alabamification sounds better. But yeah, so we were preparing to hopefully go and get a sponsor and put this in front of some legislators. And the state beat us by 3 days. They dropped SB 132 on a Friday evening. And it was a total ban. And then when we started asking, what the heck, Senator Melson said it was to start a conversation. To which I replied, that's kind of like saying, honey, you hurt my feelings with divorce papers.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
There's steps between A and Z.
Yeah.
And we didn't do any of them.
Yeah.
You know? And so, of course, it caused a panic amongst the businesses and amongst the customers. You know? And that's something I don't believe these legislators fully comprehend, is how many Alabamians are using our services because they don't have access to medical cannabis yet. And we've been doing this for 7 years now. It's not new and it's not scary. And hopefully the teaching that we've been doing as well has been sort of chipping away at that. Like I say, I may be feeling more confident than I should be, but I know that hammering on it for 6 years, you know, I know in Mobile, nobody's worried about what we're doing. I have a great relationship with the city and the police, and always have. So I think that what's happening in our stores and in the communities does not look anything like what was presented to the legislators, because they couldn't give us any data to back up their claims. They could not give us any information where they got their information. And some of the information they did cite from like the CDC website, absolutely, completely inaccurate to what the CDC website actually said on that topic.
Oh, they gonna lie now.
Oh, yeah. Or they took some ands and these and said, the CDC website says and these. So look, it's kind of I don't understand, because I know in a court of law, if you make a claim, you have to then give evidence to support it, or it's not really a valid argument. And I don't believe that that's the case at the State House.
Hold your thought.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Hold your thought. And just let me tell you something about Alabama that you've been here a long time, but
no, I don't know. Trust me.
In Alabama, Republicans lie and Democrats don't. That's why Republicans win.
Right, I saw that myself. No, let me say I can attest to that.
Right.
I saw it with my very own two blue eyes every week that the session was in session.
And
I did up close and personal.
Democrats, because they don't know how to play the game. It's like you guys are, it's like you watch Republicans play this game, and you're too above it.
Well,
and you lose.
I would say my
legislators are too above it.
Maybe
legislators are too good to lie.
Maybe so, but my instinct on that would be if they're not dishonest people, maybe they don't want to have to go outside of their character. I don't know. I would like to believe people think that way, but maybe not.
That is it. They don't want to go outside their character.
And you shouldn't have to, like, but yeah.
But this isn't that. This is trying to win, right?
Yeah.
And my thing is, and I'm not going there at all. I have no interest in being a legislator. But if I were there, I would go there to win.
Right.
I would go there to win for my constituents.
Right.
No matter what it takes.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, that's why I'm a Republican, because Republicans are going to try to win whatever it takes.
Yeah. No, I can attest to that as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah.
And 7 out of the 8 bills were Senate bills. So, and it was interesting. But yes, the Democrats were the ones who asked the intelligent questions and had compassion for the people that were flooding them with emails. And they did. They said, what is the death rate compared to alcohol? They asked the questions. But it wasn't enough because they're outnumbered.
Instead of giving you data, told stories.
Exactly.
Horror stories.
Well, I said it. Representative Andy Witt should be nominated for Best Actor in a Drama.
Yeah.
Because of the blue surgical gloves. Yeah.
that's how this goes.
It's theater.
Yeah,
it is absolute theater. Yep. Well, I did win Best Actress in the 9th grade, so I'm prepared for that too. But so HB 445. I mean, we went through, like I say, 8 bills. It wound up being this one being the vehicle was the term they used, and Representative Witt carried it in the House, and then Senator Melson picked it up in the Senate. We had so many versions of it, it's not even funny. And the sub that was passed, we did not get to see it until after it was passed and concurred, and several hours later. So the bill that passed into law, we had no idea what we were even getting. And boy, did they give it to us.
Was it worse than you expected?
Yes. Some people will say, no, not really, but I think it is, because there's so many tiny details in there that it's kind of like, so what did somebody say? If you can't ban guns, you just make the bullets inaccessible and too expensive, and it's just a paperweight.
Right.
So and Representative Witt is patting himself on the back. Well, we didn't shut you down totally. Well, thank you, sir. It's like saying I didn't kill you, but I stabbed you until you were almost dead.
Right.
That's what happened.
It's like,
sure, we can stay in business.
But you can't sell any of your cookies in the store anymore.
Well, hey, I'd be great if they left us with the gas. The gas is what they banned. The gas is what pays my bills. You know, the smokable flower ban, there's a ton of veterans that use that. It's a quick uptake. When you have PTSD and flashbacks and panic attacks, you need something like a rescue inhaler is for asthma. You need something quick, and that's what an inhalable does for you, as opposed to a macro dose of a CBD oil or an edible once or twice a day. You know, with inhalation is quick. But so they banned flower totally, and then they made all of our other products can only have a maximum of 10 milligrams of THC. Well, I have cancer patients and Parkinson's patients, and I am a chronic pain patient who used to hoover 60 milligrams of oxy several times a day that would kill every man in a block radius after I built up a tolerance to it. I don't want to go back to that, but I take 100 milligrams of THC for my pain in conjunction with CBD, CBG, CBC. When Representative Witt got up there and said, again, misquoting the CDC website, that a 50 milligram THC gummy was equal to a bottle of 80 proof vodka. And I looked at the girl next to me and I said, well, I had 100 at lunch, and I'm sober as a judge. It's 2 p.m, and I couldn't hardly walk at lunch. Now I'm okay, and I can sit here and listen to this man defame me. You know, so they have no concept of what people actually need and what they use it for. 90% of the people that come in our doors are looking for medicine. And yes, some of that medicine can impair you. So can a Benadryl. And you give it to your little kid. You give it to your baby sometimes. So can a lot of medicines that are over the counter. A lot of things, you know. I mean, have you had a Bang or a Red Bull? There's lots of things that will change your brain chemistry that are used as stimulants or depressants, you know, and a lot of medications. You get the flu and the NyQuil makes you sleepy. There's nothing wrong with that. It actually helps you rest and recover. And that's what you want. That's why so many things that they use for pain and discomfort do sedate you or impair you, you know. But when you have the proper medicine, you're not high. You're just normal. It brings your body into balance. And it's not the government's place to say that 10 milligrams should be enough for every sick person, any more than they try to tell you you can only buy 2 beers instead of a case of vodka. And I hate comparing the plant to alcohol, but that's what this ultimately is about. You said money. The alcohol industry nationwide is losing sales. They want those THC drinks so that, I mean, some of these companies came in and testified about how much the country club ladies love them.
Now those drinks and, you know, all that kind of stuff. All right. First of all,
those are more recreational.
Let me back up because I had a question. All right. So you said that basically anything that can be inhaled is now illegal, but anything that can be ingested is legal. Is that the
Yes,
basic?
up to the maximum of 10 milligrams.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So they didn't ban all the products,
Right.
but they basically, I will lose 90% of my products.
Oh, absolutely.
And the demand will drop immediately.
We'll get there.
Yeah.
But so when it comes to all of the smoke, from vape pens to flour, anything you can light on fire, basically,
Yes.
or combustible is
Mhm.
gone. What is left is ingestible stuff. With that being said, and I think you just answered it. So there's not enough product for you to have a legitimate and sustainable business if it's just the edible stuff, lotion, da 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 da. Okay.
Yes, and two, the one thing that they very arbitrarily, and I will never understand this, but the gummies have to be individually wrapped, which creates a whole lot of waste, and only 4 to a pack. There is not a single manufacturer in the United States that makes individually wrapped THC gummies at 10 milligrams in a 4-pack. Not one company. It's going to cost another company out of state a lot of money to develop that to meet just the demands of the Alabama market. How many companies can afford to have a product only for one state? There are brands that are in multiple stores in the state, but I have brands that nobody else sells. They're not going to change what they do just for me. So I will lose a ton of those products and have to struggle or have very limited choices in the manufacturer. Right now, I can work with the best of the best. It's my choice. It's a free market, the way it should be. We should be able to compete, and that engenders innovation and quality, because you have to be better than the next guy. If we only have 1 or 2 manufacturers to choose from, that's another thing, and the waste and the extra expense of having to individually wrap gummies. I have customer.
Before we move on, I just want to, I don't need to be a buzzkill. But is there anything else in the bill? I want to exhaust that.
10% tax on top of sales tax. It is out of C-stores, but allowed in grocery stores, which is strange.
So somebody comes to buy in Birmingham, there's already a 10% sales tax.
Then they will pay 20.
They will pay enough.
Yes, sir. And 9 of the 10% will go to the general fund. 1% will go to enforcement. No research, no veterans programs.
So sick of the damn general fund. I don't know.
Yeah.
All right, go ahead. Go ahead. So it's taxing the hell out of you.
Yes, it is doubling. And Alabama's not a wealthy state. The general population is not wealthy. And some of the people, like myself, even as a small business owner, I can't afford health insurance. I cannot afford $700 a month for one person. And that's before I ever even need to go. And thankfully, I use a lot of natural wellness products, and I very rarely need a doctor. But I can't afford health insurance, so I know other people can't. And when you can't afford to go and get an antidepressant that's $300 a month, but you can come and get a CBD THC combination that no side effects, you sleep great, all the things, why wouldn't that be what your choice is? And you should have that choice. But now they're going to make it more expensive by these packaging limitations and the individual wrapping and all that. That's all going to create a raise in the prices, and not being able to get the manufacturers, the 10% tax, all those things. We are going to have licenses, which I tried to get the state to do in 2019. So we could know who was selling it and who's the bad guys, and they weren't interested in that.
So that's in the bill now.
We have to get a license from the ABC board. And a week and a half after the bill passed, we can't even get them to tell us what the bill says either, because they don't know. There's two
So
dates.
you have to get a license from them that they don't even understand yet.
Yes, they can't even give us an effective date on the enforcement. Everything that we know says January 1st, but the very last line of the bill,
I thought it was,
says July 1st.
Yeah.
Yes, so
they're gonna try to catch somebody up. What's going on with that?
We don't know. We have emailed and called, and they will not give us an answer. They keep saying it's going to their attorneys. They don't know. There's no way they're going to be prepared to enforce it on July 1st. There's no way. Where's the application? Do they even have one? What's going to be on it? Because the sub was dropped the night before, if that day. No one knew what that law said when it passed. And Melson just said, oh, it just gets it out of C-stores. No, sir. C-stores are going to be just fine. They sell beer and gas and candy and all kind of stuff. Boner pills, whatever you want. And grocery stores, they would be fine because they sell everything. We, the hemp-only store owners, we are the ones who will lose everything because it's all we have. And then they're going to eliminate everything we can sell. They want us to file and pay our taxes on the 1st of the month instead of the 20th, that's what you do. You pay, April gets paid on May 20th. So you have those days to do your bookkeeping, figure it out, and get it paid on time. That's how it works. But they want us only, not alcohol, not tobacco, not anybody else. We will have to file our taxes and pay them within 12 hours of our month end. There's all sorts of other regulatory things. Warrantless seizures. Not okay with me. If you're going to come and seize someone's property, no matter if you think it's illegal or not, you kind of need to have a warrant in this country. But that's written into the bill. They can come in and do whatever they want.
And these are the things that are in the bill that nobody has said.
No.
Yeah,
and we're literally dissecting it as we speak. And because I am doing radio and a lot of people know who we are, they're looking to us for answers. We don't have them. We don't. I mean, there's so many things. I know I'm leaving out a ton of things. And the fines, of course, if you get caught, there's literally, if they walk in and you have 100 products and you have 99 lab test results, everything's perfect, and somehow you can't find the 100th, they can seize your stuff right there. There's no grace period. There's no fine. There's no, well, we'll give you 3 days to email it to us because, stuff happens. The 99 COAs don't make you honest. It's the one you can't find or something else goes wrong. Half the time I don't know where my staff puts stuff. And if I were to not be able to find something and my staff wasn't there, am I going to lose a couple $1,000s worth of product? We don't know. Nobody can tell us. So we really don't know. And right now, we're trying to be in the mindset of it could all be over July 1st. And how can it be that fast? It's like 6 weeks to dismantle everything you have. And that's if you have the money laying around to do something different. And what about the leases that we have agreed to? 3 and 5 year leases we're obligated to. Our staff, taxes and loans and invoices we owe. If 80% of your traffic dies in one day, how do you prepare for that? And then what happens in the consequences of, hey, I can no longer pay my taxes and I can no longer pay my loans and my insurance and my landlord. What happens to us? And not a whole lot of people have an answer to that. I haven't gotten a certain one, because I don't have a backup. I'm a single mother. I don't have a savings account because I spent all my money driving back and forth to Montgomery and on my radio show. So there is no backup plan, and this is all that I have, and it's worth saving. It's worth fighting for. And that we do plan to do that. There are a lot of people like me in this city, in this state. There are people all over just like me who have that heart, who would do it for free if we could. If you take the money out of it, nobody would care what we did. I'd give it away from an ice cream truck if I could. People deserve to have this, and I've watched people suffer. And I don't want to watch these people suffer. My customers are coming to me crying in anticipation. Online sales are banned. I can't sell to somebody in Birmingham and ship it to you anymore. Supposedly, you can't order from another state, but we all know everybody's got a buddy a brother or a cousin in Colorado, California, and Oregon, if you know what I mean. We're there so they don't have to commit felonies. And speaking of felonies, the bill also makes possession of the higher potency products over 10 milligrams or the flower in any way, shape, or form a Class C felony. My 75-year-old customer who came in yesterday to buy some THC CBD gummies for his wife who's old and achy and can't sleep and has pain, those gummies would be above that 10 milligram. They're 25. And that man would be a felon. Why? He wasn't yesterday, and he's just buying gummies for his elderly wife. It's not okay. They don't understand the suffering that is about to happen if we can't put a stop to this.
That was a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And it was perfect. I understand it now. I can say, okay, I understand it. I understand the laws. And understand the stories behind what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
So right now, we know what we don't. Sometimes you know what you know. You know what you don't know. You don't know what you don't know.
Right.
We don't know what's going to happen past July 1st, but we do know what's going on up until July 1st. Tell me what that is.
Well, right now we are open and normal business,
Normal business.
Yes. It dropped off for about 2 days. And thankfully I had an interview on NBC 15 and I put out a video. Hey, it's awfully quiet down here, y'all. The law has not been enacted yet.
Yeah.
You can still shop. So by all means, if you're listening to this, go shop local as much as you can. And if I were you, I would consider stocking up. We don't plan to just lay down and take it, but we don't have any guarantees. So go and support your favorite hemp dispensary, your favorite smoke shop. These people are scared. We're people. We love our customers.
Yeah.
We think about and we cry over our customers, I took some voters up from Mobile. We brought them from all over the state for a rally day on April 29th. And a gentleman came with me and about 8 other people from Mobile. And he's not in the best health, but he really wanted to go. And so at the end of the day, I knew it was going to be rough for him. But at the end of the day, we were driving home and I had to listen to this man writhing and moaning in pain in the back seat. And he didn't want to, but he had to take a pain pill. And until that pain pill kicked in, it was horrific. And he uses THC typically and CBD. And he just went too far on his body and had to take it to a pain pill. And there's nothing wrong with that either. Pharmaceuticals do have a place. And I cried all night because all I could hear was this man. And he was so desperate. And I knew it was because he wanted to go and tell his senator, please don't do this. And he wanted to help me get that message across. And all of the people that I know who their quality of life depends on this stuff, they tell me every single day, even during COVID, please don't close, and they wouldn't even take delivery. They want to come in and see us. They want to hear their questions answered and get a hug if they need it. And so all I can think about is those people. Who is going to help them? It will not be the state of Alabama, not the state government, and it won't be medical cannabis until they can stop suing each other. So that's all I can think about is the suffering, and it's crushing. It really, and I'm going to suffer. I just told you I take 100 milligrams of THC instead of Oxycontin. Where am I going to go? I kind of started this, and I've been here through the whole thing. I've fought for medical cannabis, and I won't be able to get the medicine that I need. So I really, I don't think, maybe they care, maybe they don't, but I just don't think they realize what they just did. I really don't think they do.
Got any shout outs?
Of course. I would love to shout out the Alabama Cannabis Coalition and the Alabama Hemp Trade Association, the people that I fight alongside every day. And there's a growing number of retailers who have started coming to us because they want to fight. Everybody, hey, what are we going to do? We got to do something. So to all of the retailers out there, all of the people who grow, Christian Butts in Alberta and Antoine Mordekin in Bessemer, you know, and everyone in between, you know, and Coleman and Gadsden and Birmingham and Moody and everywhere, Mobile and Saraland and Baldwin County. If you are in this business, I love you. I'm praying for you. I'm right along with you. We vacillate between absolute blind fury and holy crap, devastation. And it's hard to even think clearly in that state. And I just want to be a shop owner on the corner in downtown Mobile. And that's all I ever wanted. And I want to get on my little radio show and talk about the thing I love the most, people and cannabis. And this is a people business. Cannabis is our tool, but this is a people business. And if you are in the people business with cannabis, we're going to be okay. One way or another, this will not stand. We will fight. We will find a way. This is not over. And I commend every one of you. Anybody who's not going to tuck tail and run to another state, I got your back, whatever you need. And reach out to me and any of my colleagues at the Alabama Hemp Trade Association and the Alabama Cannabis Coalition for information, encouragement. You know, we're trying our best to keep everybody informed. So, but yes, to the people that are boots on the ground in retail especially, keep loving on your people and keep loving on each other. And maybe we can turn this thing around and teach Alabama a little thing or two.
Remind us how to get your book.
You can get Courage in Cannabis on Amazon.com and at CannaBama.
And the radio show.
The radio show is Sweet Home CannaBama every Monday night on FM Talk 1065 in Mobile. You can get that on fmtalk1065.com. You can also watch us live in the studio on our Sweet Home CannaBama social media pages, Facebook, Instagram, X, YouTube, and TikTok. And we're also a TV show, on Citizen Green TV, on Apple TV, Roku, and Amazon. Sweet Home CannaBama.
Something tell me you gonna be all right.
I did.
Social media handles?
Well, yes, it's all Sweet Home CannaBama and Jennifer Isabel Boozer.
Well, your Instagram is just CannaBama. Right?
Yes, it's at CannaBama. Yes, it is. That's my store page.
Right.
Facebook unpublished my store page on Facebook, so that's okay. Yeah, I'm going to be the I'm new Alabama correspondent for Pro Cannabis Media. They have a show called Cannabis Coast to Coast, and I will be representing Alabama starting June 2nd.